we've talked a little bit about platforms, but a community is not just a platform. And so I want to get into, we've talked about, retention, acquisition, or R&D, but say I want to do one of those things. Are all communities, am I going to do it differently if I'm doing it for retention or activation or acquisition?
I think that there's first principles regardless of what kind of community you're going to launch. So there's definitely strategic tweaks between retention and acquisition. And they are very dependent on your business model as well. Obviously, retention communities work splendidly for subscription-based business models. But in terms of how you do it, the building blocks are similar. And it all starts with awareness. You need to have called enough attention, created enough awareness around what you do that you have an asset like an email list. An email list is my preferred asset when I'm working with clients. Sometimes people will have huge Instagram followings and we can try to work with that. The conversion is harder. But it really, like, your email list is your key to starting your community, because converting people who have already given you your email address is so much easier than going out and trying to recruit first members. So awareness, and then there's like the whole conversion piece. There is the kind of launch season, and then there's the post-launch season, and all of that is the same no matter what kind of community you're going to launch.
So let me just get the bullet points here. It was awareness and that kind of access to your community. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah.
So if we're going to get even more granular, the way that we work with clients is, let's say someone comes to us and says, so we want you to build a community plan for us. Our first question is, what are your assets? What do you have, so that we know that we can reach whatever goal, however many people you want to start with. And then the next thing we do is we'll research competitors' communities, or communities that are competitive, even if they're not attached to a competitor. Our favorite tool, one of our favorite tools, is Gummy Search. So if you're doing research on a community, Gummy Search is an incredible tool. It's basically a tool that where you can tell it's based on Reddit, where every subject is on Reddit. But you tell this tool, hey, look, I want to know from our travel, our solo travel, our travel on a shoestring, you can tell it all the relevant subreddits. I want to know what they're talking about. It'll go and scrape all of those subreddits for whatever time frame you give it, and it will bucket out what it found. Here's the most engaged posts. Here is the anger and pain points. Here is whatever. Like, it gives you all of these things. And so all in one stop, like within 10 minutes, you have a look into what people are really talking about. And that helps you with two things. One, it helps you figure out what sort of subjects you might want to introduce in your community. But two, it helps you understand what you don't want in your community, which is equally as important, because there's a lot of riffraff. And if you can identify what is starting the riffraff, you can keep it out. So we do research in that area. And then the next thing we do is we start developing the community, meaning choosing the platform, getting it set up, thinking about the information architecture inside of it, while simultaneously starting to try to convert audience into community. So some best practices, we always an application to get into the community, because if I can just pause and take a tangent, gating is one of the most important decisions you'll make about your community, like who you keep out. Because communities, I didn't coin this phrase, but communities are inclusively exclusive. So you have to have a couple of layers of filters, because it can't be for everybody. So there's always an application process. People are applying to be a founding member. There's a bit of screening going on for that starting culture while we're building out the platform. And then it's a matter of actual launch, having a launch day event, knowing what you're going to talk about in the community. So a little bit of light programming. But the biggest rookie mistake is over programming your community, because I use the phrase design minimally and respond expansively, or expand dynamically. Those words are all hard to put together, but just a little at first, and then respond to what the community needs, rather than like 10 channels and 7 mixers and stuff that nobody really wants right now.